I remember the two sisters, Janet and Janis, and I knew they were Rodney's daughters, and I'd known Rodney, of course. And when Janis died, there was devastation. Everybody was sad, and everybody seemed to be running around and very active. I was pretty well ignored, but that's all right. The day of the funeral was a day of great activity, and I can't remember what everybody was up to, but everybody seemed to be up to a lot, running around all over the place. There was a lot of discussion, and I remember specifically how concerned they were that they not be involved with any preachers. These people were all atheists. We were all atheists. The funeral was held in the Farmers' Labor Temple. Now, the Farmers' Labor Temple was like an auditorium. It looked not unlike the Grange halls that are all over the place. It had a wooden floor. It had windows on the walls with benches around the periphery. It had a small stage, and the ceiling was wood. It was not a terribly ornate building. It had no ornaments whatsoever, as a matter of fact. But being a farm labor temple, it had one decoration, and that was the hammer and sickle, which of course represented farmers and laborers. And as far as the socialists of those days, these are the people that created the wealth, and they were the most important people. The funeral was in the afternoon, if I remember correctly, and we were all sitting there in chairs, and there were speakers on that small stage. There were many speakers. Most of them seemed to me to be men. I don't remember the speeches necessarily, but they were talking about the world that Janet lived in and how profound her death was to her family, to her father and mother, of course. But it reminded me today, when I look back on it, as the celebration of the lives of people that we do quite often. And but I know that it was almost an anti-Christian funeral, and they wanted it so. They didn't want any preachers around the place, and there were none. And it seems to me that Janet was buried immediately after the funeral. I can't be positive about that. But I know that she was buried in Rodney's front yard. There was the gate, and you opened the gate, and to the right of the gate was Janet's grave. And 8-10 feet beyond was the steps into the house. And I know that an awful lot of people were talking about that and said that was a terrible thing to do. But it seemed to me, my little adolescent mind, that they could do what they wanted to do. It was their daughter.